I truly understand the power of education now, even better than when I started ESMT. And this is because of all the experiences that ESMT exposed me to. I launched my own startup that helps unprivileged students get a proper education. And by education, I not only mean, studying, because studying was already accessible in Italy, which is my country, but I want them to be able to earn money to spend on extracurricular activities, because I think are the core of the learning experience when you are in your 20s. So I want people to be able to experience these kind of experiences so that they can then become better person, better people through education. I became just recently a social impact project coach for ESMT. And when I was asked what are the projects you would like to help on, I immediately said education. So now I'm helping 4 teams that have decided to spend their time supporting organizations all over the world in their mission to empower students to have a better education. So, I mean, I'm so happy that I remain the same in that sense, and I think I'm headed in the right direction. And that's why also I chose the ESMT at the beginning, because I knew they had this social impact project, and I knew that that could be something that I would be interested in, because I always wanted to learn business school and then apply them to, the social impact of things. I feel extremely lucky to have my parents on my side. Most of the times they tell me, we have no idea what you're doing. Like, don't ask us for advices, but we're here. So whatever choice you make, you can count on us. And I think that's more powerful than having someone telling you the right thing for you is to do this, because you feel like you will make mistakes, and I'm making so many mistakes, but I also know that every time I call my parents and I told them I think I made a mistake, they're like, okay, so how do we bounce back from this? And it's incredible. And it also gave me the idea, I think, for my startup, because at the end it's not about making one person successful. It's not about me becoming an entrepreneur or me becoming rich. It's about me giving other students in my same situation, so without a proper guide, a way to do things, a way to discover opportunities, to travel the world, to then build the future you want for yourself. So this is, I think, the most important thing that I got from my story, is that the support of someone who loves you and believes in you is way more important than someone telling you where to go or what to do. And when I came to ESMT, the first teacher that I had, the course was advanced decision making. He did something that I had already studied in my bachelor. So at the beginning, I was like, okay, I know how this is going on. But then towards the end of the course, he gave us an example of a story that could be solved through the methods that he was teaching. And it turned out the story he was sharing was a personal story. It was his own experience. And when I finished the class, I felt like my whole world was changed, because I was like, so I'm not just studying for the grade, I'm actually studying to apply these things in the real world. And that for me was amazing. And I remember telling him at my graduation, you were my first teacher, and I think you were the one that actually changed the course of things for me. And then I felt like I was a good student, because I was actually learning something and not only studying, to get the grade. So that was the first time that I actually felt like I was in the right place. And that's why I know, and I'm so convinced of the power of education, because it changed me personally. There is a particular episode that I still remember, and I think I also wrote an article about it in the ESMT blog, because I was so impressed by that day. During my time at ESMT, we had, of course, lessons, we had internship, we had a lot of different things, and we also had workshops. One of these was about storytelling. So we had an entire day dedicated to learn how to tell a story. And instead of teaching us how to do it and giving us rules, the teacher told us, now you have to tell a story. You come up with a story, and then you come here in the center of the room and you talk about it. And the question he asked to us, so that we could talk about something was, why are you here? So why are you at ESMT Berlin? And I can't express like how impressed I was by everyone's story, because even though it was a business school, nobody came in the front and said, I'm here to make money. I'm here because I want to advance my career. I'm here because, I don't know, I like business. But people talked about like their life stories. So there was someone that I was actually saying, I'm here because I come from a very small village in Africa and I want to make sure that I get the right skills to then go back and empower my village. That was mind blowing. But then there was the second one. She came in the front and said, I come from a village in China and I grew up with technology giving us like pacing our time, you know? So when I was very young, I was growing up by watching Tom and Jerry on television. And then when I was like 11, we got the first washing machine. So my mom could wash clothes in the washing machine. And then when we were even, younger, we got the first laptop and all of that. And then she was like, and that's why I want to work. I want to sit at the table of the companies that make the decisions about the technology of the future. And I was so impressed because she could have just said, I like technology. I'm at ESMT Berlin because Berlin is the hub of innovation, and so I want to be here. But she actually related her choice and her being there to something she had lived her whole life. And so I could actually see the reason why people were there. And my reason for being there was, I actually want to be around you guys. In the past 4 years, I think now already, I think I used ESMT to work towards the direction that I wanted to work towards. So today, I don't consider myself an entrepreneur yet. I do have a startup, but it's very small and I'm just, right now scaling it. But I also have a full-time job and I also try to work in other startups before because I feel like there's so much that I still need to learn before being able to apply it to my company. And this is what ESMT also gave me. It gave me the opportunity of focusing on my long-term career goal, which is ultimately becoming an entrepreneur. It exposed me to so many good entrepreneurs. Like I remember when we were doing the career talks, when there were people just coming to ESMT, it was a very diverse group of people that was coming to teach us something. So it wasn't only people from consulting companies or people from big corporate. It was also small entrepreneurs that were just launching their company. And this made me understand that was also seen as a career. Like being an entrepreneur, being a founder, and then failing, it was okay. And the school was actually promoting it because they wanted to make sure that we knew anything was possible. So any kind of careers. And this helped me to approach those entrepreneurs and, ask them, how did you do it? What should I do? And not only I had the chance of, talking to these people, but they were also giving me a chance to do so many different things while I was studying that I felt like I grew so much and I developed many of the skills that I am now using. They gave me a chance of, for example, creating a club. And that was one of the most amazing things I've done at ESMT. It was a relatively new university when I joined, which means that anything had to be done, like it wasn't like you join the university and you join a club. It's you join the university, you realize there's a club missing, you create the club and then people join with you. And that's what I did. So that was the first time that I was trying to become a small entrepreneur within the organization. And ESMT gave me so much support, like the meme office, the Jack, who I still remember, who was giving us like indication on how to create the clubs, how to involve partners, how to organize events, and then the people that actually follow you and want to know what you're doing and how they can support you. So I feel like I still want to become an entrepreneur in the long term. I'm a little bit closer now than a few years ago. I'm still not there yet, but it all started at ESMT with their support. I decided to do entrepreneurship because I knew as a specialization, because I knew that they would do it in a practical way. So it wasn't like studying entrepreneurship. We actually had a class that was called Startup Challenge, where you had to come up with an idea, and then you would have to develop your idea for the entire course, and then at the end the exam was pitching the idea in front of investors. So we actually had investors listening to us talking about this, and to me, like, it was incredible because the idea that I came up with was a very like early stage version of what now is my startup. And I mean, it was because I always knew that I wanted to become an entrepreneur, and you can tell it like from the essays, but I never knew in what field. Like, what am I gonna do? I don't want to create an e-commerce. I mean, it's not for me. I want to have some impact. And so the fact that we got to, that we were actually asked to think about it. The first couple of classes were like, what do you want to do? What is your idea? Think about it. Does it make sense? What is the problem you're trying to solve? Then it all became super clear. Like, I want to solve something related to education. And then, the more you talk about it, the more you get feedback from your peers and from your teacher, the more it becomes clear. So at the end, I actually pitched my idea in front of investors. It wasn't like a finalized idea. So they were like, okay, how do you make money out of this? Like, it was the first time that somebody actually told me, yeah, that's great, but what's in it for us? So they forced me to think about it even more. But it was the first time that I felt like, okay, trying to be an entrepreneur doesn't have to be like something so far away in the future. It's something that people are actually trying to teach me right now. The social impact project for me will forever be like the best experience of my life. When I joined ESMT, I could not imagine I joined for the social impact project, but I could not imagine that the experience would be so great. I traveled during COVID to St. Lucia, a very small island in the Caribbean, with a dear friend of mine that was my colleague and then became my friend during the trip, of course. And we helped an organization, Raise Your Voice, that advocates for women who suffered domestic violence. So for 5 weeks, our goal was to be there for them and understanding how to be helpful while managing all the difficulties of being on a small island in the Caribbean during a pandemic. It was the first time that I actually understood that, it's one thing to study business. It's another thing to consult an organization where you don't have anything. They don't have any tools. So even the simplest thing would be, would become a difficult thing to teach. And especially, we also had to take into consideration that after 5 weeks, we would leave. So we needed to make sure that whatever we were doing would remain in a sustainable way for the organization. So there were so many difficulties related to the project. First of all, the first call, we asked this lady, we are 4 women from ESMT Berlin, is there anything you need help with? And she says, yes, absolutely. In 2019, I had to provide support to 1,000 women. In 2021, after the pandemic, it was 4,000 per year. So they were 4 times as many because of, the restriction, because of the pandemic, because of the situation. So we asked her, like, what can we do for you? And she goes like, I need more time. I don't have enough times in my days. And we were like, well, how do I help you get more time? And that was the first, challenge. When we were doing like cases in class, business cases, you would immediately see what the problem was. There is a problem with the inventory, or the company has a problem of culture or whatever. Here, this lady needed time, and we can't make days longer. So we were like, okay, how do we do this? And so it started, and I have to say here again, the fact that the people that I was working with were amazing, and this is because of the people who were at the SMT, made everything easier. It was a period of just asking questions and trying to understand, mapping how things were happening. We discovered she was alone in the organization, and when we left, there were like 12 volunteers, because we created the whole board of people to help her delegate so that she would get more time. When we were there, we actually saw her talking on the phone with people who were just out of court, and she was like, with this incredible dignity and this incredible strength, solving problems that I don't know how she was doing it, like talking about very heavy stuff. And then we were like, what, Catherine, why are you doing this? Why are you talking to people who are just out of court? And she told us, well, I can't support women and then, just tell them that everything is going to be okay, that we're going to help them sue whoever is doing this to them, and that if we then don't prepare them for court, because if they're not prepared for court, then how are they going to win the case? They're just going to cry and nothing is going to come out of their mouth. So she was doing everything from supporting the people who were calling them saying, hey, I need help, to giving them food, to giving them a shelter, to preparing them for court, and then talk to them after court. And she was alone. And we could only, understand this once we were there. So the fact that we were actually there on the side with her, hearing them talk her on the phone, made us realize that it's one thing to, study something and learn about it, and another thing to see it. After 5 weeks, they told us, when we asked them to describe the work that we had done for them, one of them said brilliant, the other one said unbelievable, and the third one said, it looks like you have been with us for like 4 years, because you know everything about the organization and you did so much. And it was merely like a reflection of how prepared we were, because of the things that you learn by being in a very diverse classroom, because we were used to talking to people that had a different background from us. So we never came on to them as arrogant, we never asked questions acting like we had all the answers. We just humbly said, okay, you need more time, let us find a way to find you more time. And that came from all the teaching that they gave us. The fact that we were working in groups at ESMT for basically the whole time helps you understand how to work with a team that did not study in your home country, does not speak your language. So you have to, understand how to make the work. And that all came in very handy when we did the social impact project. Today, we are still in contact with them. So we still talk to them on a weekly basis, I would say. And I'm also now a social impact project for students that are now doing the social impact project coach for students that are doing the social impact project. So I feel like it's not ending, and I still have to say, whenever someone asks me like, what is the best thing about ESMT, or should I go to ESMT, I try to tell them, is there another organization in the world that would teach you business and then would teach you how to apply it to an NGO? And usually then they apply to ESMT.